You are sitting in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by the glow of a screen. Your finger hovers over the left arrow key, or perhaps over the left edge of a phone display. You press it. The audio jumps backward exactly 15 seconds. You settle your eyes back on the center of the frame and make yourself a quiet promise. This time, you will follow every word. The narrator resumes. The sentences arrive in clean, logical order. You hear the nouns, the verbs, the rhythm of the speech, and then, almost instantly, a heavy invisible curtain drops between the sound and your understanding. Your eyes stay locked on the screen. Your mind has already boarded a different train. 15 seconds pass. The realization lands. You have done it again. You have absorbed nothing. So you press the left arrow one more time. Here is the strange part, the part worth sitting with. You will press that button 5, 6, 10 times on the same 15 seconds, and you will never once rewind the boring stretch that came before it. The loop is precise. It always closes on the same narrow window. Something is selecting that window for you, and it is not your willpower. The question this video is going to answer is not why you lose focus. It is why you lose it there. Why this exact slice of time refuses to be kept, no matter how many times you reach for it. This mundane little ritual plays out millions of times a day. It happens during audiobooks on crowded commutes. It happens during 2-hour podcasts while you wash the dishes. It happens late at night, alone in the dark, watching long-form essays exactly like this one. You chose the content. You genuinely want it. And still, some involuntary glitch hijacks the machinery and drags you back to the same patch of ground, again and again. The reflex that follows is almost always self-condemnation. We are conditioned to read the lapse as failure, moral, intellectual, total. We diagnose a broken brain. We assume the algorithms finally won, that short-form dopamine has fractured our attention beyond repair, and that we are losing the basic human ability to sit still and listen. By the metrics of the modern world, that diagnosis is correct. The ideal citizen of the information economy is an unbroken conduit of data, and success is the sheer volume you can process without interruption. So, we optimize. We watch lectures at double speed. We pack every silent commute with something dense and improving, terrified of a wasted minute. To live here is to be wired into a greedy architecture that demands continuous, unyielding attention. And in that architecture, the person who drifts, who loses the thread and has to rewind 3 times, is the obvious loser. Hopelessly inefficient, fundamentally incompatible with a culture that treats the mind as a hollow drive waiting to be filled. But notice what the optimization can't fix. Even when you strip away every distraction, close the tabs, kill the notifications, put on the noise-canceling headphones, commit fully to one long, beautiful piece of media, the drift still comes. You removed the enemy and the symptom survived. Therefore, the enemy was never distraction. If your brain were truly the addicted, hollowed-out thing the culture claims, it would devour the audio stream without resistance, the way a terminal accepts lines of code. It does not. It voluntarily pulls the plug. It severs the connection to the very thing you chose and dives into the dark water of its own interior. Why would a mind sabotage the experience it wanted? The answer is not in the self-help gospel of dopamine detoxes. It is in cognitive psychology, where this exact experience, eyes on a screen, mind light years away, has a formal name: perceptual decoupling. In a 2006 paper in Psychological Bulletin, psychologists Jonathan Smallwood and Jonathan Schooler mapped the mechanics of the wandering mind, defining decoupling as the state in which the brain deliberately disengages its attention from sensory input in order to protect an internal train of thought. So when the drift hits, your brain is not shutting down. You're not blanking, not dozing. You're performing an act of high cognitive exertion. The brain pulls up the drawbridge and redirects its resources inward, toward the place where complex internal simulations are built. Smallwood and Schooler's work reframes mind wandering not as a failure of attention, but as a relocation of it. You are not failing to concentrate. You are concentrating on something else, so fiercely that the outside world has to be muted to keep it safe. The brain has made an executive call. The next paragraph is worth less than the thing that just detonated inside you. The video pauses in your mind even as it keeps playing on the glass. To feel the value of that rebellion, look at the people who have killed it. Consider the ones who have trained themselves never to drift. First, the optimizer. This figure treats consciousness as a processing facility. Audiobooks at triple speed, summaries of summaries, the 15-second rewind brute-forced out of existence through scheduling and willpower. They ingest 1,000 thinkers. But because they never let the mind decouple, they never synthesize a word of it. They hold endless data and zero insight. By the standards of the feed, the optimizer is winning, and inside, they are an echo chamber of other people's sentences, incapable of an original thought because they have never tolerated the silence in which one forms. Then, the scroller, the same disorder wearing the opposite mask. The scroller never drifts during a long essay because they never stay on anything long enough for the brain to even attempt a decoupling. A new spike of novelty every 7 seconds. Their attention is unbroken and entirely owned by the algorithm. They have handed their inner life to a stream of loud, bright, shifting stimuli. Both are false idols. We watch them crush goals or effortlessly devour feeds, and we berate ourselves for drifting through a 20-minute video. We strive to become them. We fail to see the bill. They do not drift, but they also do not dream. Beneath the psychology runs an older argument about what thinking even is. In a 1955 memorial address, the philosopher Martin Heidegger, decades before the smartphone, warned of a coming crisis in cognition, drawing a hard line between two modes. Calculative thinking computes, plans, organizes, optimizes. It extracts actionable facts from a lecture and races toward a goal. Modern life rewards it, and more than that, demands we stay locked in it from waking to sleep. Meditative thinking does not compute. It asks us to dwell on what is close, to sit with an idea without forcing it to pay out. Heidegger feared we were losing the capacity for it entirely, drifting toward a future of efficient machines terrified of their own quiet. Half a century later, neuroscience stumbled onto the biology of his warning. In 2001, a team led by Marcus Raichle, publishing in PNAS, identified the default mode network, a web of brain regions that goes quiet when you focus on a hard external task and roars to life the instant you let go. It is the network behind autobiographical memory, imagining the future, modeling other minds, and weaving new experience into the story of who you are. When it activates, the brain is doing the heaviest lifting it is capable of. The drift is the default mode network asserting its right to exist. It is the calculative grip being pried loose so that meditative synthesis can run. And here is where the loop reveals what it has been doing all along. The drift is not random. It does not hit during the tire change tutorial on the rain-soaked highway, where the stakes are real and the calculative brain stays in command. It hits during the essay, during the philosophy, the moment the narrator says something in passing, the fear of outliving your usefulness, the specific ache of a childhood home, and keeps walking while you do not. That single sentence struck a hidden nerve in your own architecture of memory, and in a fraction of a second the brain ruled that the next paragraph mattered less than the simulation that just ignited. The content was not too boring. It was too resonant. It did exactly what art is supposed to do, and the medium, instead of letting you tend the fire, demanded you keep consuming. Your brain refused, which finally answers the question, the cold open left open. You can never remember those 15 seconds because those 15 seconds are the only ones you actually used. The rewind button is not a record of your failure. It is a map. It marks, with brutal accuracy, every spot where information stopped being information and became thought der yours, unrepeatable, already metabolized into memory and fear and connection before the sentence even finished. The boring stretches stay perfectly retrievable because nothing happened to them. The resonant ones vanish because something did. You are not losing those seconds. You are converting them, and the disappearance is the receipt. So the loop has been lying to you about its own meaning. Each press felt like proof you were broken. It was the opposite, a tally of the exact moments your inner life was most alive. the seams where the content went deep enough to wake the part of you that no feed can reach. The next time you surface from the dark and realize you have no idea what was just said, stop before the frustration arrives. Do not reach for the button. Look instead at where you went, the memory it unearthed, the worry it was working through, the strange connection it forged. That is the real content. The video was only ever the spark. Stop treating your attention like a disobedient dog to be yanked back to heel. The 15 seconds you cannot keep are not the ones you failed. They are the ones that became yours. Let them go, and let the video play on without you.